that I have the recording option for is for backup. But yeah.
And I'll definitely get to Squadrons sooner than later. It just GTA has a bunch of new robberies that you can go do, and they're pretty fun.
Green dot, there we go.
I've been playing those. It's been pretty awesome.
I think we're ready to start. Hey folks, how's everyone doing? Welcome to You'll Probably Agree. As always, in case I didn't start properly, hello everybody and welcome to You'll Probably Agree. As always, I have John Davies from Sinema Obscura on, and the Bad Batch finally finished. And now that it's officially finished, I think we can all say with confidence that this is exactly what I think is wrong with Star Wars. Which is that you have this show, you know, that starts off with all this potential. You know, you're opening up the fact that there were some clones like this particular fleet. You know, what are they? The Clone Force 99. They're not following the orders of Order 61. So we're thinking, okay, and then they're talking about how they're going to get rid of the clone army, you know, basically make the clones extinct and finally answer that huge plot hole regarding what happened with, you know, the clone race, because you had a race of million Boba Fett's, and then all of a sudden they stopped using them? But they finally start answering that in this episode, and I'm getting excited for that. I'm all right. Finally, like, here we go. And then halfway through, they decided just to do the same exact thing that they did with The Mandalorian, which is, you know, we're going to have a guy, we're going to go out, we're going to give him a job, and then we're going to have him, you know, do that for the week. And now what Star Wars is doing is what they've always done. They just copy what other successful Star Wars things have done, and all they're doing is every week just doing the same shit that Rebels did, and even Mandalorian, which is endless rescue missions. And then when they're not doing rescue missions, it's a predictable plot. They're just reenacting what happened when, you know, everybody went to go and invade the Death Star, you know, when Luke and his buddies went in there. It's the same exact reenactment of sequences, and it's just, it's baffling to me how they would just rewrite what's not even the most memorable part of A New Hope, you know, although let's say Star Wars, really, at the time, that's what it was really called, was Star Wars. I just don't know why they would do this, other than Disney came up to them and they said, we want more seasons, so scale the script back a lot. Or it's just a show written by not Dave Filoni. And either way, I gotta say, I'm not gonna watch the second season. I'll wait till it's out and then just watch like maybe the first and last episode.
Yeah, or just like, you know, stream the whole thing at some point. But yeah, I mean, this series just feels like missed opportunity after missed opportunity. Like, the first episode, you thought that, you know, they were gonna kind of like fill in some holes and like answer some questions for you that you didn't have, you know, that you didn't even know you needed answered. You know, who are these clones? You know, blah blah blah. What's this? What's that? You know, they gave us a little bit of a teaser with like, you know, introducing the fact that the Empire was now like basically like tagging everybody in the universe, and like chain codes existed, and like that's kind of where, you know, in the Solo movie, like that's how he got his name, was because he got caught by the Empire, and it's like, oh, you don't have a name yet. Here you go. Here's your chain code. Here's your name. You're all by yourself. You're Solo, which is dumb as hell. I'm not going to get into that, but it's like they had a billion opportunities to like connect to other things in the Star Wars universe, and they just failed. You know, the whole time that this show was going on, you know, Order 66 was still happening. You know, Vader was out there like leading the charge, like wasting Jedi, and we didn't see any of that. We just saw these idiots, you know, lose a power converter, or, you know, go, you know, do a spice run for the spice guy. You know, it's just like, what are you doing? It's like there's a whole bunch of stuff happening right now in the Star Wars universe at that time, and they just like skipped over all of it, and we're like, okay, here's this little Omega clone who was, you know, one of the Bad Batch apparently, and that's it. That's literally it.
Yep. It's just wait till
Just
season
introduce-
2. Like, I don't want to wait till
introduce one
season 2 when
character.
you could have told me everything in season 1. Could have been one and done. And it's a cartoon show. You could have made fucking more. What are you
And
doing?
they teased like so many little things too. It was like Fennec Shan showed up, and like it was like the 3rd episode or the 4th episode. It's like, holy shit, you know, direct link to the Mandalorian. It's like, okay, we might see a little bit of her story.
No.
We do not. You know, Cad Bane shows up. So, oh, damn, cool. Cad Bane shows up, and his episode is cool. Give him that, but then that's it. Mm-hmm. You know, like that somehow the bounty hunters are like done hunting these guys. Like, how do they not know that Sid is the base of operation? Like, come on, man. There's so many plot holes within this series and so many things uninvestigated or just like
Unexplored also.
oh man, so what are you doing?
Well, the problem is like we even have all these characters, and they started off on a good foot where, although they're all clones, what the brilliant thing they did with the Clone Wars was they made them individuals. You know, we went into that. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get to know a little bit about these guys. We're going to get to care about them on a level other than what they are beyond the surface. You know, Rucker can't always just be this dumb guy who's like, oh, I like that, I'm stupid, ah. But, like, literally, that's just his whole fucking arc, as well as everyone else. And it's like, yeah, well, we'll take care of it in later seasons. Fuck waiting till later seasons. We know what you're doing.
I realized today that they don't even have names. They just are called what they do.
Yeah.
Hunter, he's Hunter. He hunts. Renter, or Wrecker, Renter. Look at capitalism. Wrecker, he wrecks. You know, he's Wrecker. You know, the tech guy, he's the tech. Oh my god, his name is Tech. They don't even have names. It's like they could have done that. You know.
Yeah.
They had these guys. With the 2nd episode, they go to the clone who defected. It's like, oh, okay. You know, a little bit of a link to the Clone Wars, and you know, maybe they're going to progress these characters a little bit. Get that? But yeah, like you just said, they never progress these guys at all beyond the fact of their names or beyond the substance of their name. It's like, yep, easy record.
They're just avatars for a video game.
That is all exactly. It's Battlefront 2. We know that.
Yeah.
The 4 characters you play in co-op, but it's like, dude, don't be so obvious with that shit.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, now I really know that EA had a hand in the sequels, doing something with Star Wars that shouldn't be done.
If they did, that plan didn't work out.
This before, like, I'm seriously convinced that they were part of the fact that like Rey didn't get a double-sided lightsaber. You know, it makes sense that she had. Before the Rey update came, it made sense that she had Anakin's, blah, blah, blah. But when she got her own, it should have been, what was alluded to in The Force Awakens, it should have been a double-sided Darth Maul-like, you know, sure, make it yellow, why not? Lightsaber.
Yep.
You know, also with BB-8 being in this game, they're like, oh, how do we get BB-8 into the video game? Oh, let's just invent this black Empire droid that's exactly like BB-8, but exactly the opposite of him. Okay, cool, BB-8's in the game now.
Mm-hmm. That's how you sell toys.
Now here, they have 4 characters that are exactly the 4 characters from this game. Like, it's like, damn, you guys, you're not being like subtle about it at all.
No.
EA has their mitts in Star Wars, and it doesn't really make me happy too much.
Well, if that is true, that plan really did not work out.
It's not working out great.
You know, because like we know what happened with Battlefront.
Yeah.
And
the whole the whole Finn thing too. Like, how did he never get a lightsaber? Oh, because the video games decided that they can't just have a dude with a gun and a dude with a lightsaber who's the same dude. That's not going to work.
That actually would have been really cool.
That's too much work on our. Like, think about that, dude. Think about those 4 things that I just said. Put them all together, and it's like, damn, he might have something there.
It's also emblematic of what's wrong with the game industry. Is that
yeah,
if you play like PC games and you play like games made by fans and modders, oh my god, the fan games are wonderful. But that's because they don't have all this legal red tape surrounding it. You know, where you know you have to put in the thing that's in the movie and make this thing because it's going to sell this many toys. Right. You know.
And you can see that in like action sequences, especially like going back with Star Wars. It's like they built some of the action sequences so that they could make a video game around it. Like, you know that they did that. You know, why the hell was Anakin, like, almost losing his hand in the droid factory? You know, that was ridiculous. It's like, oh, but for a video game, that makes so much sense. And that's like what this series, The Bad Batch, is. It's just like, it's literally just like a poorly written video game with shitty missions. And like, here you go. Here's a couple of cameos to keep you interested in the bad game, but it's going to be repetitive. And, you know, exactly like their video games.
Yep.
EA Sports or EA Battlefront, whatever.
EA Games challenge.
The state of like Star Wars video games now is kind of pathetic. Like there needs to be a Fallout type Star Wars game or a GT, like an open world Star Wars game, and there hasn't been for a million years. You know.
Apparently they're working on that, but the company who's working on it, I don't know the name of it, but they did some kind of Tom Clancy game, and it was just like okay. But they're the guys apparently who are gonna make this incredible open world Star Wars game.
That'd be nice.
And here's the thing, I was saying, oh yeah, we should have Knights of the Old Republic 3. It's like, why don't we just get a new IP that's an open world game? But why is this company working on it? Like, hurts my brain. But maybe they'll do a good job. I mean, look at Naughty Dog. Who would have ever thought they'd go from Crash Bandicoot to the fucking Last of Us? But now we're thinking of this season. I mean, even in a given episode recap, it's pretty brief. I thought there was going to be more after they blew up. Spoilers. You know, I'm just gonna not get spoilers. That they didn't think they'd blow up Camino. But after that, the whole episode was just them getting out of Camino, and that was kind of it.
The second half of the first, it's like, really? That's how you're gonna end? Like, literally no cliffhangers, literally no answers. You know, they almost lost a droid.
Yeah.
You know,
it was gonna be a big deal that they were gonna lose the droid that
droid.
I don't even know which droid that was.
It's like, how are you? That thing's got to be heavy as hell. How are you swimming, pulling that? It's like, whatever. Okay, Star Wars, you got me. Like, you got me.
Yeah. I mean, they did reveal that Omega is actually older than the other clones.
They said that a few episodes ago.
Oh, they did? Well, then they didn't give
like
anything.
The first time she went back to Camino, she's like, yeah, this is where you guys were born. I was there.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, said anything about it. Like, none of the clones said anything at the time.
Yeah, they weren't like, what do you mean you were there? You were a kid.
Like,
yeah.
Technically, she's older than you. Like, yeah, no kidding.
Yep.
Why was that alluded to for 14 episodes?
That'd be so interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking at the wrong franchise for substance. Star Wars does not contain substance, and when it does, you gotta wait, and wait, and wait. Yeah.
Rebels, like, at least with Rebels, like, it was cool. Like, you know, Kanan eventually, like, you didn't know right away, but like eventually you found out he was a Jedi in hiding, and you're like, oh, that's this time? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, Vader is like the first face you see in that show. You know, he shows up every once in a while, and it's not good for the good guys.
Yeah.
When Vader shows up,
and
you know, ever, it only happens a couple. It's like there's some kind of like link and connection to the rest of the series, and it's a badass connection. It's Vader, and this series has nothing. It has none of that.
Nope.
You know, we were talking about how like Boba Fett may show up, like all this stuff might happen. You know, all this correlation. Like,
yeah,
they literally could have had a young Han Solo there and connected it to that movie, or some of the characters from that movie they could have used. But no, they didn't do anything to connect it to anything else. It's just standalone poop. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is, when you look at Rebels, even like Rebels didn't have, they had a lot of the same filler episodes. I'm complaining about the same exact shit. They did the same shit, and they did it to death on that show, which was unexcusable. But still, even in the first season of that show, more shit happened than the entirety of the show.
And they made it excusable because every once in a while Vader would pop up. You know, Ahsoka was there doing her fulcrum stuff. If you kind of knew who she was in the background, you know, if you were watching Clone Wars, it's like, oh shit, that's definitely her. You know, the bird's around, like, what the hell, that's her. You know, they built on the lore of Star Wars. This did. The show, again, did none of that.
It started
It's
to
not
build
even
on
like-
the lore, and then it just abandoned it halfway through.
By
Because
episode 3 or 4, they were just like, okay, here you go. We're gonna do the same thing for 8 episodes.
it's a bit like Toy Story 3 or 4, where it's like we didn't need this kind of closure after the end of the Clone Wars. It's like, well, that's the end of Ahsoka's story. That's the end of the clone story in a way. And this is just like, this should have been a prologue. Toy Story 4 was just one and done prologue. You know, Woody's sort of euphoric death. You know, him leaving all his friends. This is just the this is about one clone force, and it's a beginning to be about the extinction of the clones, and then it's just about making, you know, getting the subscription count, getting the kids to tune in to a new cartoon show when they get tired of Clone Wars. And
pretty much just like something to look at that looks like Star Wars.
yeah,
That's
just
it.
give him fucking Lego Star Wars at that point. The kids will like that shit. You know, don't advertise a Star Wars show that you know has an adult fan base as well, and you treat them like children. The reason people like The Mandalorian, kids and adults alike, was because it didn't exactly treat the audience like they were kids. It gave them a sense of self-respect. This one is sort of like, hey, you know what? If you're an adult and watching this, why are you bothering? You know it's a cartoon show. It's like, well, no. What the fuck are you doing? That's not fucking cool. That's just insulting to the audience's intelligence. And when you do that, it really sends the wrong signal to everybody. Especially if, you know, you've never given Disney the benefit of the doubt and you said, oh God, they're going to ruin Star Wars. This isn't going to do anything to change your mind. You know, because all they're doing is just treating you like a customer instead of telling a story. It started to tell a story, and then it just halfway through, they didn't care, or they just said, we'll fill it in the next season. Which, why? We didn't need to continue this if this was going to be this. This is why I was not excited about the Bad Batch when I first heard about it. I was like, what do I
And it
care?
was just like the final episode was just like, okay, we're gonna save Crosshair and he's gonna be grumpy about it.
Yeah.
And they didn't get into the fact that he had his chip removed, or like they didn't talk about any of
Enhanced.
that. They were
Like-
like, no, he had it removed. It was removed.
Like before they did all that shit with his head in the first episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tarkin decided instead of enhancing it, he just removed it in episode 2. I went back and rewatched it. Or episode 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, you know, if he wants to fight willingly for us, then, you know, pull that thing out. Let's see what happens.
They
You know, so
could
he
have
gives him
made
a
that
shot.
a plot point. They could have really
they
made that a
didn't
lot clearer.
it's
They
like
could have been
another
like
one of those-
Tarkin's
yeah,
testing to see
exactly.
if we can
Exactly.
remove their chips or if we have to
Yeah.
see about their limitations. And then they
exactly what
continue to
happened.
rebel. We know they're going to rebel. We know they're going to rebel, and that's going to be amazing when it happens. But
I only know that because I went back and rewatched the first episode and the second episode and part of the third episode, and I was just like, okay, this is what this is going to be. You know, going forward. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that when Tarkin initially got a hold of him and pulled him aside, they just pulled that thing out of him.
yeah,
And that was the experiment. He was sent to eliminate Saw Gerrera's encampment without a chip to see what would happen in
Yeah.
episode 2. And, you know, he ended up shooting one of the stormtroopers. He's like, no, dude, we fucking follow orders. I don't care. I don't care what anybody below me says. If you're below me and you say you're not following orders, I'm going to shoot you. Or I'm
Yeah.
going to tell somebody else to shoot you. So, pew, 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 shot the dude in the face.
yeah.
And then, you know, he walks away and has his stormtroopers, like, literally, like, set fire to a bunch of kids. You know, it's like, okay, cool. This is, you know, this episode is kind of solid, you know. Gives you a little bit of back. You do have to read into it a little bit, especially since the Crosshair chunk of this whole series is probably that whole segment that I just told you. And that's it. You don't see him again for, like, 8 episodes, literally.
Yep.
Which is weird as fuck. Like the whole series should have revolved around him and that incident and that experiment, and it, like, they skipped over it, and they just, like, briefly in episode 15 or whatever, like, no, you guys, I had it removed. It's like, what? It was removed a long time ago. It's like,
And if he had it removed, then what the hell was his
Explain
character
your fucking
motivation?
self.
Is he just an
Exactly.
opportunist? And if he is, why? Like, we need a clear
Good
motivator.
soldiers follow orders. Like, that's it, dude. You just follow orders. Like, you are a robot. That's
Yeah.
it.
This isn't a
Like, yeah,
fucking
that's it, bro.
Jean-Luc Godard film. We don't need, like, mysteries as to why this guy's doing this thing. And you can't be like, ooh, it doesn't matter. It is Star Wars. Like, no, what the fuck? You're
Missed
creating the most narrative of narrative
opportunity,
stories, and
missed
you're not fucking explaining this?
opportunity.
No, on top
Whole
of that.
series just... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the whole series makes no sense. Like, why did you go through these motions? And like, if this was a comic book, it'd be a terrible comic book, for real. If it was a video game, it'd be a terrible video game.
It would be a terrible story in general. It would be like, wait a minute, what the hell? There's no ending? You know? It's like,
Like,
Jesus
no-
Christ,
and
even The
no
Sopranos had a
cliffhangers.
better ending when it cut to black. This is
I mean,
just...
there's no cliffhangers. There's nothing. It's just like, okay, we're gonna drop off Crosshair at the next Imperial base, and what? He's just gonna be cool about it? Come on. What are you telling me?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but this is just bad writing in general. Like, bad writing is just when you're copying what other stuff is done, and just constantly copying A New Hope is just... I mean, that's what The Force Awakens did. You know, as we've mentioned many times, after you see Rey and Finn and their stories, once they find the Millennium Falcon, it's just nostalgia fest. And this show...
Remember this?
is...
Remember this?
Yeah.
Remember that?
This show is nostalgia fest for people who like the cartoons a little in the beginning, but then it's not even that. It's it's just an IP, and it's just really unfortunate that they did this. Again, I wasn't even gonna probably watch the show, but then like Disney sent me like an early screener to it, and I saw it, and I'm like, okay, this is all right. Like, I think John would like to cover this because he's like the only other person I know who watches these cartoons. But now I'm just going, yeah, you know what? If you're gonna make this just so then you can have a show that is filler, like this show is just filler until the live action stuff comes in, you know?
And if you're afraid that your like writing staff isn't up to snuff, you know, just grab a couple of fanboys and pay them the bare minimum, have them throw some ideas at you, and you might actually get a story that, like, you know, might connect to the rest of the Star Wars universe instead of being like, you know, back and forth to Camino. That's it.
Yeah.
There's so much more. Like, okay, cool. That the ups and downs of Camino, like, that could have taken 4, 5, 6 episodes tops, not 16, man. For real.
Yeah, it was just a little thing to cut to where the real plot line was. Because I think there's a real plot line that the real writers want to write, but Disney told them that they need more seasons. They don't
Stretch it out.
They don't
7
have that kind of
seasons.
content, or they knew it
How
from the
are you gonna
beginning,
get-
probably, and they're just like, well, eventually it's a payoff. If
I'd
we get enough
rather
people
have, like,
watching it in Star Wars.
I'd rather have like 3 or 4 focused, solid first episode caliber movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, standalone movies telling the story of the Bad Batch. You know, do that. Don't give me, you know, the Clone Wars, you know, series 7 or season 7.5, which they were hyping it as
Yeah,
before it started. Like, that is not what this is, man.
yeah,
Like the feel and that, like, the heart tugs that you got at like the end of the Clone Wars, like those last 6 episodes or whatever, was fantastic, and they did not ride that wave at all coming in to this episode or continuing through this series, or coming into the series or continuing through the series, and I don't understand why. It's just opportunity after opportunity missed.
yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
I
when we talk
understand
about
what
missed opportunities, I think what we're talking about is we want to see various things like the extinction of the clone race beyond just, oh, we're going to cancel them because we can't afford the money. Although that makes no sense because the Empire has unlimited money. And
They arrested like 6 dudes. Like, I'm going to start this clone rebellion, and you know, we saw that in one episode, and that was it. They just dropped the ball.
and then they just dropped it.
Oh man!
Like the thing we
Y'all
wanted to
coulda
see.
given could have given that to us, in about episode 4, Meanwhile, back on Camino,
Yeah, we blew up
doesn't have to
Camino.
be.
Great. What next? Like nothing. Like I get that's an allegory for their whole existence, sort of not meaning anything, and that
That was the first time the Empire took out a city.
yeah, it's like the first time the Empire took out something, and it was the Kaminoans' home
Yeah, dude,
base, and
16 episodes later,
it's like we could have done this much
7
earlier.
hours
And
of my time later.
what really gave me hope is that a lot of these Marvel shows, if I was saying this to someone earlier, like if I wasn't a, if I didn't grow up around Star Wars and I just grew up around Marvel, I probably very easily would have been a Marvel fan over a Star Wars fan because that's a property where they really know what they're doing. WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki are both totally different shows, and they're only 6 episodes, so they can't waste your time so much. But here, apparently with Star Wars, you thought after The Mandalorian, they only had 6 episodes, they know what they're doing. Like, yeah, there's like 3 filler, but then there's like 3 solid, good episodes with story. But then they give you a whole cartoon show that does nothing to expand this universe, and they're just doing the same shit that I hate that American television does, which is they just have more episodes for the sake of having episodes, but not content. Not stuff that builds a character.
A couple of like barely cameos.
Yeah.
You know.
So
and no mention of Boba Fett again. It's like, you guys, it's like, guess who was also born on Camino?
Yeah.
Like, how is he not like not even mentioned seriously? Ugh. Like,
Yeah.
did they forget about him? Just like, oh yeah, that dude that they threw in the pit in the 3rd movie. Oh yeah, why would anybody love that guy? Like, come on,
we'll wait
guys,
till later seasons. You have the Boba Fett show coming out, which is weird. It's like, wait, you have the Boba Fett show coming out. You have Omega. You would think maybe that would be a motivator for him in the show, but I don't know. Wait till next season. No, I'm not going to wait till next season. You have fun. You release it.
I don't want to say he was a big part of the Clone Wars, but he like existed.
Yeah.
In that series,
He
tried to be a soldier. He tried to do the things, and then he was just like, yeah, you know what? No, fuck you guys, and he left. We could have seen him. You know. So just missed opportunity after missed opportunity.
They really could have gone off.
Where the hell is Greedo? Why didn't Greedo pop up? Like, where's he been with all these prequels and these like side, the Solo story, especially? It's like they just dropped the ball, connecting the dots with that movie and with this show, and especially. But it's like you can pull from the ranks of like cool Star Wars people other than the Gonk droid, I was super excited to see that thing. That was kind of cool. Like, we have one of those gonking it up every once in a while, but like there's a Greedo out there doing stuff. There's a Boba Fett out there doing stuff. The Bounty Hunter Guild exists. Jabba's out there. It's not just. It's like, connect the dots, man.
They would, but I guess it's too much of a different
too hard
show for them. Yeah, it's too hard. It's like, here's the thing. We always complain about like how they don't give enough fan service, and then they give too much fan. It's just they don't know how to give fan service. You want to know how to give fan service? Do what the Mandalorian did with the Boba Fett episode. Introduce Boba Fett briefly at the end of like the first, or the second season, first episode. And then don't address it until like way later, where you basically think they forgot about it, and then you forgot it, and then bam, he just comes in right away, and you get that payoff. And there's no payoff with this show.
No, I was gonna say, like, it is like super weird seeing his armor without him. Yeah, you're just like, that skinny dude, that is definitely not him. Like, what is going on? That was kind of odd, the route that they took, like showing you the Boba Fett armor, like teasing that he existed.
Yeah, but it
Like,
was
you're not gonna
clever.
see him exactly.
Like right away as a
You-
fan, you're like, that skinny guy. And the thing is,
Yeah.
we remember Boba Fett actually
Like,
was kind of a skinny guy. Like if you really look at Empire.
I mean, he was
But-
that Ned Flanders looking dude if you saw him with the helmet on.
Yeah. But you could tell it doesn't fit, and then when he finally wears it, you know, he kind of has like that dad bod, although really he had just like a huge ass fucking robe. But what, like if you see Tamara Morrison, he's in really good shape. You know, and but you know, when we finally got that payoff with him, that was just orgasmic. And here, what the fuck are they? Oh, here's Cad Bane, and there goes Cad Bane, and we're never gonna address this again. And you know, here's Fennec Shan. We're not gonna address Fennec Shan. Here's this thing that we know could be a problem for Darth Maul later with the spice, but we're not gonna see Darth Maul. Oh,
Are they trying to like seed the storyline for like future seasons of the show? Like, don't do that. Just like that doesn't make any sense.
I don't care what leads to it. I just want it. But now with that said, yeah, this is exactly what's wrong with Star Wars. This is what concerns me with Star Wars, is that that we're getting lazy writing. That's literally, here's the exact structure of every Star Wars show, especially the Bad Batch. Somebody has to sneak into an Imperial base. After they sneak into the Imperial base, they're going to dress up like the enemy. Once they dress up like the enemy, they'll wind up somehow falling into some sort of sewer or pit or whatever, and they're going to run into a scary monster. Then they're going to fight the scary monster and get away from it, and then they're going to shoot their way out and escape, and then you have your falling point. That's the structure of, like, I'd say 60% of Rebels, 30% or 40% of the Mandalorian, and 80% of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, it's way too high for this show.
Yeah. And they're doing this again and again and again and again and again and again with every show.
Them kids, they'll watch anything.
Yeah. So why don't they just try writing? You know, please. It's like we're asking for the bare minimum with Star Wars. We're acting like The Mandalorian is the greatest thing ever made. When really it's just a decent story. But we haven't even had that. I mean, even Rogue One, it's more like a Star Wars fan museum than it is a story. Like, it's cool they killed everyone, but you know, when have we had a real good story since Empire Strikes Back or Jedi? I mean, even Jedi's, you know, there's a lot of problems with that movie.
Really, yeah.
But we haven't gotten that. The only real one was Empire, and yeah, Sith could have been good if someone outside of George Lucas wrote that movie, you know, but George, he didn't want to listen to anybody. He owned Star Wars, and you could tell that Francis Ford Coppola didn't help him write those fucking movies. Although I don't know if Francis Coppola could at this point. His movies are oof right now. But this just proves exactly what's wrong with Star Wars. Instead of coming up with something new, it's always just the same shit. Yeah, the Bad Batch is new. We've never seen a show about clones before. But there's not much to it. Having said that, is there anything else you wanted to say about the this season 1, I guess, of Star Wars: The Bad Batch?
It's over. That's about all I got to say about it.
Yep.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I had my hopes up maybe a little bit too high when it started.
Yeah.
You know, again, if like somebody like me or you was to like help these people write these things, like maybe somebody like me or you would like it, but maybe these things aren't geared for people like me and you. Maybe they're just literally filler for the kids.
Yep.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for letting me do the show with you, dude. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh no, thank you for doing this. It's great to be able to talk about these Star Wars things, all the games we're playing, and I'm sure I'd love to have you come back for when Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian Season 3 come out, and Obi-Wan, and well, Obi-Wan is next year, but Boba Fett's this, I think this winter, you know, and with the Delta variant, we'll probably be stuck inside, and they'll get those viewers.
Ain't nobody going nowhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, watch my show on Vimeo. We got 47 episodes of it on there. Series 7 is starting at the end of the month, the very last day of the end of the month. So we'll have one new episode a week for the first 8 weeks, and then there'll be, 56 episodes up. Pretty excited about it.
Nice.
No,
man.
55. I'm sorry, my math is off. 55 episodes up.
55 episodes of Sinema Obscura, movies from all over the world. Where can they, if you go on the link on the description below, they can actually hit you up about their movies.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to.
A big collection on Vimeo. We got some YouTube. You want to just listen to some good music, some good indie music. We got a Spotify page going on. All indie stuff, all the time, from all over the world. Sinema Obscura, look us up. Cinema with an S.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks a lot, John. And yeah, the Bad Batch. I can say if I were to give this out of 4 stars, I would give this show 2 out of 4. I'm only giving it that extra star because of how it started. But if you were to give it something out of 4, do you know what rating you'd give it?
I was just saying I'd give it 2 out of 5, so it's like
Ooh.
my percentage is just a little bit lower.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Oh my god, I'm getting my ass kicked in this game.